With Christmas around the corner, I have a brilliant gift idea for anyone who loves homeopathy and reading. It is called Revive, the first ever epic adventure novel where homeopathic remedies come alive through characters in a breathtaking, unforgettable story. Follow Shaisu as she navigates treacherous kingdoms driven by love to find a cure for her dying sister. Along the way, you'll discover remedies like never before, woven into thrilling battles, mysterious characters, and powerful kingdoms. Whether you're a seasoned homeopath or just curious, Revive offers an immersive experience that will teach you about remedies and homeopathy while keeping you on the edge of your seat. It is the perfect Christmas gift for anyone who loves homeopathy or adventure. Revive is available to buy on Amazon now. Written by Sunita Venchard, an experienced homeopath who appeared on my podcast in episode number 85 and is also featuring today on Throwback Thursday. It has loads of 5-star reviews on Amazon with people saying, "What a wonderful adventure that truly grasps the foundations of homeopathy and the essence of the remedies in an inspired way. I can't wait to read the other books." Loved this book, so exciting from start to finish. I was quickly drawn in and I couldn't put it down. Great fiction that actually sneaks in many homeopathic principles. Couldn't put it down. I received the paperback version yesterday and finished it already. So do go and check out Amazon. It is called Revive and it's written by Sunita Venchard. You can also find out more at sunitavenchard.com. Thanks for listening. I am so incredibly grateful that I once again have the honor of personally thanking some incredible homies who have donated to help keep this show free to air for everyone to enjoy. So a big thank you to the lovely Jenny Griffiths. She is actually my most frequent donator. Jenny, you are a superstar. Thank you so much. Also, thank you to Claire Norris. Also, Helen Newell-Brown. The lovely Karen von Bardeleben. I'm sure she's having a giggle at me trying to pronounce her name. I got to meet Karen at the AHA conference last year. She is just absolutely lovely. Also, Therese Cosgrove, who I recently had on the podcast. She is the creator of the remedy Yin Yang, which you can now purchase through my website. The lovely Nicole McConnon, who is actually one of the homeopaths on my team. That's a sneaky little donation you managed to squeeze in there, Nicole. Thank you so much. That's really sweet of you. And also Merrin Gibbons. Now, Merrin is a homeopath who is the creator of the dosing dish, which is a hygienic way to administer pillules. You can find these beautifully handcrafted dishes on Etsy, and they make a great Christmas gift for your homeopathy-obsessed friends or for yourself. So do go check out the dosing dish on Etsy. Thank you so much to all of these incredible homies who have donated to the podcast. I really appreciate it. And if anyone else is listening and would like to donate and get a shout out on a future episode, do go visit eugeniekruger.com. If you go right to the top, you will see a button that says donate and you can just do it through there. Thank you so much. Welcome to Throwback Thursday, where we bring you a homeopathy hangout episode from our archives in case you missed it first time round. Because this episode may be a couple years old by the time you hear it as a throwback, some of the special offers, links or content may not be valid anymore, so please keep this in mind when listening. You're always welcome to reach out to us at info@eugeniekruger.com. Enjoy the episode. Today's episode is sponsored by the New Zealand Homeopathic Society. They're a charitable organisation dedicated to raising awareness and supporting the growth of homeopathy in New Zealand. You can become a member and receive amazing benefits, such as access to an online Introduction to Homeopathy course for beginners from the College of Natural Health and Homeopathy. You'll also have access to the members-only section of their website, where you'll find past journals and articles to download or browse. And you'll receive their quarterly newsletter via email, as well as a variety of articles on homeopathy, up-to-date information on homeopathic news, tips on how to use remedies for common ailments and upcoming events. Plus, you'll receive 10% discount on remedies purchased from supporting pharmacies, Similimum and Celine Homeopathics. And if you're a book lover like me, be sure to check out their online bookshop. It is amazing. To become a member of the New Zealand Homeopathic Society or to purchase some of their books, visit www.homeopathy.ac.nz. That's homeopathy.ac.nz. Membership is currently only available to people living in New Zealand. Today we speak with homeopath Sunita Venchard, who has been practicing homeopathy for over 25 years. She is also the author of the homeopathic novel Revive, which is aimed at both the public and homeopaths as an immersive way to experience remedies and some philosophy. Best of all, no previous knowledge of homeopathy is needed to read this novel. You can get a copy of her book, Revive, through Amazon, and we'll put the link in the show notes. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today, we get to speak with homeopath Sunita Venchard. Welcome, Sunita.
Hi, Eugenie. Thank you very much for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you on. And I'm really excited because we have never had a podcast about a homeopathic novel. I don't know, does such a thing even exist? Oh, actually, there must be, because I chatted with Farouk Master the other day, and he said he wrote a book about homeopathic fairy tales and how certain fairy tale character would be which person. But I don't know of another one. I just know of his one and yours.
Yeah, no, I don't know I think there's another book which just charts the love story between Hahnemann and his wife. Yeah. I think there's a book like that, but I don't think there's a book, there's books about remedies being characters, as you say, from fairy tales, but I don't think there's a book where the characters are actually based on homeopathic remedies.
Yeah. Oh, actually, now that we've said that as well, I've just remembered Liz Laylor when I interviewed her. I think she said she wrote a book and it was about homeopathic compatibility and about, I think she used like movie stars and had them to a remedy. But how cool. I mean, but yours is like an adventure novel, which is definitely not one of those. So that's really exciting.
Thank you.
Before we get into all of this, tell us a little bit about how you were first introduced to homeopathy.
Well, I was working as an IT analyst, sort of in computing and stuff back in the early 90s. And I had quite a few sort of period problems, irregular periods, etc. And the only thing that the doctor could offer me was like, go on the pill, and I really didn't want to do that. So just at that same time, I remember reading an article in Marie Claire magazine, actually, about this woman who'd been to see a homeopath with pretty similar sort of symptoms to myself, So I thought, let me try that. And it just happened to be really round the corner from me. So I went, and I was just blown away by the idea that my physical symptoms were linked to my mental and emotional symptoms, and everything was so sort of interconnected. And, from there, the homeopathy helped me. But then at the same time, my homeopath was running like a first aid course in homeopathy. So I thought, I'm going to study that. And I was just hooked. And so I started training, and that's how I got into it.
Yeah, homeopathy has a habit of getting us hooked.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a lifelong obsession.
Absolutely.
So I have just given a little bit of a spoiler alert there at the start that we're going to be chatting about your novel today, but let's get into it. It is called Revive. Tell us a little bit about what it is about.
So Revive is a homeopathic novel, but I wanted to take the reader on a journey kind of through homeopathy. So all the characters in the book, not all of them actually, most of them are based on homeopathic remedies. And it's an adventure fantasy fiction. It's a quest. I won't give away too much, but the main character is looking for a cure for her twin sister. So her twin sister is very sick, and then she has to travel through various kingdoms. She meets various people who help her, who don't help her. And it's very sort of fantasy based. So the characters are very much, sort of, as I say, based on remedies, but based on the, some of the remedies are from the spider kingdom, the world, and some of them are from the snake world. And so they take on the characteristics of those animals as well. So you're not only reading about the remedy, as you learn about the actual remedy as you're reading about those characters, but you're also sort of connecting to the source because it's describing those animals as they are. So you sort of learning how they function, etc. And that in itself sort of teaches you about the remedies.
That's amazing. It sounds like it should be a prescribed textbook.
Well, I wish it was.
So you're actually learning about homeopathy without even really realizing it.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. And it actually introduces philosophy as well through the book. Little, just very sort of small snippets, things like, like cures like, those types of things. But also the whole book is actually a kind of metaphor for a consultation. So she is going through the journey of finding the cure for her sister. So all through the book, she's getting clues about what the cure could be for her sister, and she's having to find information. So it's very much a metaphor for a consultation.
Oh, wow. And did you write it with the homeopath or with the novice in mind?
I wrote it with both, actually. So as I say, I don't specifically mention homeopathy or the word in the book. But the idea behind it is that if you read it as a non-homeopath, even as a teenager, you can literally read it as a straight adventure fantasy novel, and you wouldn't actually know that it was about homeopathy. It's just the remedies give you such a rich context and background to create a character. Like one of the characters in the book is Queen Platina. So obviously that's based on, Platina, the remedy. And obviously for a homeopath reading it, she would be haughty. She looks down upon everybody. She's very, she's quite cruel in some ways.
Often don't like kids.
Yeah, exactly. And funny you should say that, because, one of the first passages in the book talks about how she never wanted to have kids because she hated them, and so as a non-homeopath reading the book, you think, oh, well, she's just the baddie, and that's the character. But as a homeopath, you could read that and think, oh, I'm learning about or I'm recognizing that remedy in this person. And it goes down to specifics like, she's, I won't give too much away, but in the book, she's not well, the queen, and she talks about feeling sort of tightness in her legs, as if her legs are constricted. And she talks about sort of being paranoid about people sort of wanting to take her position. And so all kinds of symptoms that you would see in a Platina case.
Wow,
and
that's really cool.
Yeah, so homeopaths can read it, and they may know all of this already, but they can kind of connect with it at that level. Or if you're a student of homeopathy, you can actually, pick up stuff about remedies and actually get into the skin of the remedy.
And it's going to be a much better way to remember it, because you're going to have that whole story. I mean, we learn by stories. So you're going to have actually that image in your mind and actually be able to picture that queen and picture her characteristics and where her symptoms were. So this sounds like a brilliant idea a brilliant way to learn remedies. And for our listeners, Platina is a remedy that's made from platinum. So that's really cool. Now, what inspired you to write this? Where did you get the idea from?
Well, when I was at college a long time ago in the 90s, one of the assignments we got set, well, in fact, two assignments we got set. One of them was describe a day in the life of Nux vomica. So I read about Nux vomica. Nux vomica is a remedy made from a plant. And to do the assignment, you kind of had to get into the skin of a Nux vomica patient, or remedy. And so I remember reading and then imagining what it was like if I was a Nux vomica client. So I wrote a sort of essay about a businessman getting up in the morning, having to drink his coffee to get going, then sort of chucking on his clothes very quickly, getting to the station, being very impatient, waiting in the queue, being irritable, sort of going to work, sort of telling everybody what to do, being very impatient when things weren't getting done, and then so on, and then coming home at night and then sort of being so wired up that you couldn't sort of calm down. So you'd have to drink the wine, have to eat a rich meal, then you couldn't sleep. And then there's like, so the typical picture of Nux vomica. And I just thought, what a great way you could really feel what it was like. It wasn't just reading it on paper. You could actually feel what the remedy was like. And so I thought this is such a great way to learn about remedies. And that's where the kind of seed for the book was born.
That's amazing. I'm already thinking like you need to like write several more books, because what a great way to be learning about materia medica, and so much more fun than just like rote reading of the remedies. Actually get to have the story behind it. I think it's going to be incredible from a learning perspective.
And actually, one of the things to develop the character, I also think for students of homeopathy, one of the ways that you can really learn a remedy is by having a creative session. So like the way that I developed the characters in the book was to start off with keywords about that remedy. And, you know, it gives you such a rich backdrop for a character. So like one of the characters in the book is Aurum, which is the homeopathic remedy made from gold. And when you look at the Aurum character, they want to be successful, they're leaders. You've already got that kind of backdrop for them. They're ambitious, they're very principled. And so you already start to create a story. And that's how all the remedies were created. And suddenly all these storylines just appeared because of their background, and they sort of interlinked in that way.
It's amazing. So, it's almost like a cheat's way of writing a book, really, because you already have this incredibly rich materia medica of the type of person, but you were able to obviously, you know, put this in how they would relate to each other and put it into a story to make it even easier to. Yeah. I mean, writing a book, from anyone that I've ever spoken to, they always say it's like, you know, you have to be really crazy to do this, because it's so much work that goes into writing a book. So I can just imagine. Can you tell us maybe a little bit of the process of what it took you to do this? Because I know for some people it can take years. In fact, I'm sitting here with ideas of a book, and actually if you saw the rest of my the rest of my desk, I have got reference books spread out. It's just as well you can't see what's going on behind my laptop. Spread out everywhere, because I've walked around with this idea for a year and just made like little notes, but actually the sitting down and the writing hasn't happened yet. So I want to know from you, what's the process been like for you?
It was very long, exactly as you say. It was, you know, that seed was sown back in college. Yeah. And then when I left college and started practicing, I'd get sort of flashes of ideas about it, and I'd write snippets down. And I had this book that I just used to write ideas down. And then then about, maybe 10 years later, I started writing the odd chapter, just getting sort of remedies, saying who are my main protagonists going to be, and started sort of weaving that together. And then I'd kind of written probably about a third to half of the book by 2012, I think. And I thought, I'm never going to finish it if I carry on like this. I'm never going to do it. So my husband said, why don't you just take a sabbatical from work and just concentrate on the book and treat that as your day job and, you know, we were in a luxurious position to be able to do that. So I did. So sort of at the end of 2013, I took some time off, and within sort of 6 months, I finished it. And, you know, I contacted a professional editor, and that was a really interesting experience, having someone else, you know, feed into the book. And it was brilliant. It was such a good experience of you know, because I don't sort of proclaim to be an expert in English, and my grammar's probably not great. And she was brilliant. And so she sort of really helped me to shape the story. She didn't change. She said that, you know, what I do as an editor is just kind of make your voice shine more. That's what she said. And I thought that was great, you know. And so I learned a lot doing that. And, you know, I was really happy. And then a friend of mine who's very artistic, Nino, she did the book cover for me. So
it's a beautiful cover.
Yeah. And she just summed up how I wanted it to look. So it did take a huge amount of time. And, you know, and I got typical writer's block. There were days where I just couldn't think of anything to write. And being at home, there's so much distraction. You know, I remember asking one of my friends, can I just borrow your flat for a couple of days? Because she wasn't there. And I just went and I started writing, you know, so there was no distraction.
That's amazing. You know? So there is the sensation method. You said that you've used that a little bit as well. Can you maybe tell our listeners a little bit about what the sensation method is and how you were able to incorporate that into your story?
Well, so the sensation method actually was one of the big inspirations for pushing the book along, because I'd had the ideas, but the sensation method gave me a huge amount of information, extra information that I could use. So the idea behind, the sensation method is that, you very much look at the remedies in their different kingdoms. So you look at plants, remedies made from plants coming from the plant kingdom, animal remedies made from an animal source coming from the animal kingdom. And obviously you've got the mineral remedies, the periodic table coming from the mineral kingdom. So each of those three kingdoms have very different characteristics. So, plant remedies are very sensitive. If you think about a plant, it can't really move, so it is very subject to the environment that it lives in. So the rain, the weather, and so it's very sensitive to what's going on around it. So plants tend to have that kind of characteristic. And then you have the animal kingdom, which is all about survival, predators and prey and killing and being killed. There's the
If you want to learn the most advanced method to bring homeopathy to its full potential as an energy medicine, you have to study at the Montreal Institute of Classical Homeopathy, aka MICH or MICH. Their holistic, psychobioenergetic, research-based understanding of health and disease enables you to find the ideal homeopathic simillimum, one that will stimulate the mitochondrial network at the quantum dimension of the vital force field and address the dynamic root cause of disease. Their fully accredited apprenticeship-style program also includes supporting your patient's healing process through individualized diet, naturopathy, and coaching. A hands-on, self-paced homeopathy program that prepares you for all associations and orders, including the CHC, awaits you at michmontreal.com. Find free homeopathy training webinars on their blog and Instagram. Contact info@michmontreal.com. That's michmontreal.com.
Group. Exactly. And you've got the sort of group, the herds, the packs. They like to be in groups, some animals, and there's hierarchy within those groups. So that's kind of the animal kingdom. And then the mineral kingdom, you have all the periodic table. And if you look at the periodic table, you've got all that structure. You've got the rows, the columns, there's order, and each mineral, as you go across the periodic table, you have the stages of life from birth to death. And so that's another way of classifying it. So that was really helpful in writing the book, because I did, it created the kingdoms. So, you said like a cheat's way. So, when you read a lot of fantasy fiction, they create worlds and they create sort of different, like Star Trek and, sort of some of the, Game
Hobbits.
of Thrones, The Hobbit, they all have their fantasy kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the sensation method gave me the three sort of kingdoms that I talk about in the book.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah.
Oh, you've got me so intrigued. I was hoping I could finish it before our interview. I have not yet, but I have a feeling my 10-year-old son would be really interested in reading it as well.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking we need to organize a bulk order of the books, because I've got a group of mums here in Perth who just absolutely love homeopathy, and this just sounds like it'd be right down their alley. How do people get a copy of the book? Where's the best place for them to order?
You can order it on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. So in any country where you have Amazon, and most big countries, you could probably get it in paperback form. But obviously, some other countries, it might only be available as a Kindle or an ebook.
Okay. And if anyone wanted to do a bulk order like myself, or maybe some colleges around Australia, around the world, who might be interested in getting it for their students?
Yeah, I think it is only available on Amazon, unfortunately. Okay. I mean, so it would just be a case of ordering it, through Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've got loads of 5-star reviews. That's really cool.
Yes. So I've had really good, I've had a really good response from all the people that have read it. And I've had a very mixed group of people reading it. I've had homeopaths, and homeopaths who've been practicing for many years, and to students. Mm-hmm. And they've all really enjoyed it, and they've all felt the remedies were true to the Materia Medica, the Materia Medica being the book that describes each of the remedies. And the people who are not homeopaths at all, I had a couple of reviews that said that it was just a magical book and page turner, and they didn't know anything about homeopathy. So and they still enjoyed it.
That's really amazing. And when is the sequel coming out?
Well, that's a problem. That's a problem because I have started writing it, and lots of people contact me and say, "Oh, when are you going to finish the sequel?" But it's really still in very early stages. I again need to take time out.
Another sabbatical.
Yeah.
Time to have a chat with your hubby.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder, have you got the book there? Are you able to maybe read us like a tiny?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful, cool.
Yeah,
Are you able to read us a tiny bit from the book?
So I was mentioning Queen Platina. So this is very early on in the book, and this is where Shezu meets some travelers from the mineral kingdom, Mineralia, as it's called in the book. And so I'll just read a bit. So it says, "We are fleeing our homeland, the kingdom of Mineralia." The man lowered his gaze to the ground, hesitating. When he looked back up, it was with sad eyes. "We were once a proud people. That was before our latest sovereign, Queen Platina, began her rule of oppression. If I tell you her history, then you might be able to understand what she has done to our beloved Mineralia." Shezu's eyes widened at the mention of Queen Platina, and she listened carefully as the man continued. "Queen Platina is arrogant and proud. She was born to a lowly family, but from the beginning she looked down upon them, claiming she had somehow been placed with them by mistake. As a teenager, her stunning looks attracted attention wherever she went. Eventually, she caught the eye of the prince, who became besotted with her aloof but flamboyant charms. They quickly married, and he was soon crowned king." Shezu interrupted, looking confused. "What happened to the prince's parents, the king and queen?" "Well, no one knows how it happened, but the king and queen died in a freak fire at the palace shortly after their son was married. Once the new king and queen were crowned, gossip about them filled the land. They had a stormy marriage full of passion and blazing rows. Everyone wanted for them to have children to produce an heir to the throne, but it was no real surprise to anyone that she, the man's voice filled with anger, bore no children. Her intolerance to them, which verged on hatred, was clear for all to see. The prince was a good king, and life in Mineralia continued to thrive. But then 2 years later to the day, everything changed. The king died suddenly under bizarre circumstances. While shaving one day, he accidentally slipped and cut his throat." So that kind of, that kind of tells you a lot about, there's a lot of sort of references there that, did she have anything to do with the fire? Did she have anything to do with the sudden death of her husband? So there's a lot of speculation there.
And that sounds exactly like Platina. That was so, if you're a homeopath, I can imagine as a homeopathic student, this would just be invaluable for your learning. And and like you said, if you didn't know anything about homeopathy, that would still be super intriguing. And even for me, I'm like, just like refreshing my knowledge of Platina. That is so cool. I am thoroughly impressed, Sunita.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I love books. I am obsessed with books. So I am so excited about this.
Yeah. So, talking about, that passage. So when I wrote the book, I actually used, from our repertories, obviously the books that we find the symptoms in for each of the remedies. We have our rubrics, which are the symptoms of each remedy. And I used those specifically in the book. So I haven't done a companion guide, but I might do one actually where you can actually go through the book and you can actually see where the individual rubrics for the remedies are actually used.
You've just created more work for yourself. You're going to have to do that now.
Yeah, because there's, just like that passage that I read to you just now, one of the rubrics is for Platina is a delusion, imaginations that she does not belong to her own family. So that was, she said she didn't come from a lowly family. So I've tried to stay as true to the remedies as possible. But on top of what you can get from the Materia Medica, the sensation method also provides you with all the information from the source about the actual remedy. So in the book, for example, there is remedies from the snake family. And so there's a whole section in there about rituals, about shedding skin, and about how that can be sort of like a rebirth. And, so you learn about the actual animal or the actual plant, so because that can be really useful when taking a case sometimes, because you can't always get the information you need about a remedy from the books. So the sensation method, sometimes you get clients coming in and talking about really unusual symptoms or language that you think, well, I can't find that anywhere. But sometimes you can find that going back to the source, of the plant or the animal. There's a character in the book, which is the main protagonist's mother, Euphorbia. So obviously that's from the Euphorbiaceae family of plants. And so Euphorbia is a plant. And in the book, I talk about her constantly feeling tied to something. And that's the main sensation of that remedy. So in the book, she demonstrates this by sort of wringing her hands, and she talks about feeling tied, that, her hands are tied, that she can't do anything because her hands are tied. So you kind of get the feeling of that sensation from that remedy and that character.
That's so cool. And it sounds like it's a type of book where every time you reread it, you'll probably learn more. And as your own homeopathic journey moves along and you learn more as you go, you would probably be able to link more things together, because if you read it and you don't know anything about homeopathy, you're not going to put you're not going to be able to see that extra layer that's to the book.
No,
as you learn more about it, you'll go, that's why that person's like that, or that's why that happened.
Exactly. And in fact, I have had a few people who've read it more than once, myself included, because I wrote it a few years ago. And so I had to read it again for this podcast because I'd actually forgotten lots of bits about it. And that was quite interesting because, I thought, I don't remember that, so that was,
I hope you read it going, that was quite clever of me. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I don't want to boast.
No, I know, because when I've done my homeopathy at home course, the first time I did it was like 8 years ago now. And every few years I redo it. And then when I go back, I'm like, how did I know that? I've forgotten about that.
Exactly. That's exactly what I felt when I was reading. I forgot, and I actually forgot bits of the storyline as well. So I was thinking, did I think about doing that?
I love it. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with, Sunita? Anything else that you want to mention before we sign off?
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, just what I said at the beginning, that I just wanted to take the reader in a journey through homeopathy, because I think one of the things that, you said, why did I write the book? I think as all of us who are homeopaths, who study homeopathy or use homeopathy for that matter, it can be magical. And that's the one thing that I wanted to convey, because, when I used to read all my homeopathic books, you are taken away to a kind of magical world. When you see the effects of the remedy, it is like magic. And that's what I wanted to convey, that feeling, that mystery, that magic, that excitement that is homeopathy.
That's amazing. Well, it was so lovely to chat with you. I'm hopping on Amazon right now.
Well, it was lovely to chat to you too, Eugenie. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Bye.